In this video, I'm going to talk about all the raw vegan forums, or some of the vegan and raw vegan forums that I've been thrown out of over the years. And there's three main ones I'll talk about. One's a vegan forum, Glasgow and Edinburgh vegan forum on Facebook, and two others on Facebook that are raw vegan forums. One of them, I think, is maybe the biggest raw vegan forum on Facebook, and I've been thrown off it. And I've been thrown off two groups by people that I have met in real life and spent time with, that I would regard as friends and would want to help out in life. But they have thrown me off their groups to, I don't know, to protect other people that they've never met before, that they have no idea who these people are. But they like to deal in the world of, I don't know, imaginary people that they've never met or whatever. Anyway, sorry, I don't know why I'm getting into that. Anyway, there's three forums that I've been thrown off of. And the first is the Edinburgh Forum, Edinburgh and Glasgow Forum. And I think that was a transgender comment that I made. Something like I don't agree with all of the ideas of the transgender movement or something like that. And that was enough to get me thrown off of that forum. In fact, someone wrote something like, it's good when in, uh, the trash, I can't remember the word that was used. It's good when the trash announce themselves so we can throw them out. The trash. Now, talk about hate speech. Talk about disrespectful, negative comments. That was a totally. Is that person being thrown out of the forum? No, of course not. Because groups like veganism and other groups get kind of infiltrated by people that want to have their own victimization message sort of put out there. So there's probably loads of transgender people in vegan groups and things like that. Because it's all like we're all victims together and we all hate the world and all that. And no, I don't hate the world, and I don't hate the fact that the world's not vegan. And I think vegans are kind of pathetic at times in their in the way that they act and the way that they, you know, we can continue to put out a good message out there about the vegan diet and do that, but I I don't know. I don't know. I'm not in control of the vegan movement. I'm not part of animal activism. I don't agree with going and, releasing animals from farms and stuff like that. Unfortunately, I think it's all a terrible thing. But to me, there's one thing that changes it all is the demand for those foods. That's what has to change. It changes through education. It takes time. You can't just change a culture overnight. We've been completely misinformed and indoctrinated over the last 100 years about meat eating and stuff, which has went up significantly over the last 100 years to a level that no one's ever eaten meat in history, and people's health has plummeted and went through the floor. Even in the most healthiest time in history, where we have so much medical help, but people still destroy their health, and mostly through the consumption of animal products. So I agree with all that. Um, but is animal activism in the way it's put across, is it the best way of doing all that? I don't know. I actually don't know. It's not my place, and I'm more interested, I suppose, in the health side of things, and always kind of have been. So, regardless of all that, so I was thrown out of that forum. I was thrown out of two other forums, raw vegan forums. Uh, the one was the largest forum, I think, on Facebook, and it was originally called 80-10-10 Raw Vegans. It was a big group, and it was then taken over by someone who has changed the name. This is to me always this is I've seen this happen twice to my knowledge with 80-10-10, but might have happened many times with the concept of 80-10-10, where there was a meetup group in London called 80-10-10 London that had 900 members, that had very packed meetups for a period of time, that used to have like large groups of people turn up for meetups. And then it was taken over by well, I'll just say it, by Klaus from Plant Based News before Plant Based News was a thing. I think Klaus took it over and someone else, and they changed the name of it because they didn't want it to be 80-10-10. Now, the group was 80-10-10. Like the people were interested in 80-10-10, and they decided to change the name of the group, and then it fell apart. So um, this is a classic thing of not what not to do. You don't take over something and then tell everyone, well, you don't actually want that, do you? You don't really want that. Let's do something different to that. No, it's wrong. And same thing with the 80-10-10 Raw Vegans group. This group was accumulated over people interested in the 80-10-10 diet as put forward by Dr. Douglas Graham. And that's why that group had so many followers. Really, Doug should run that group. That should have been Doug's group. What he didn't start it, someone else started it, but it's his idea and concept. Sorry, I sorry. Um, you know, I think people think that I think Doug's a hero or the best, or like I worship him or something. I don't worship Doug Graham. I'm fairly good friends with Doug Graham. I don't see him that often. He comes to the festival. He's been to every UK festival. I've seen him at other events. I see him as a mentor, a great teacher, a guide, someone I go to for information and stuff sometimes. I tend not to try and bother him for questions because I see him as a professional, and so I don't want to go and use up his precious time with looking for free advice, which I think is kind of an unethical thing to do. But so, but I do. I appreciate Doug, but I don't see him that often, and I don't talk to him that often. And I've had um, negative experiences with Doug, and I've seen Doug act in ways that I didn't like sometimes. And for people to think that I maybe hero worship him and just go along with anything he says, I don't think that's the case. But I do see Doug as a great source of information, knowledge. I think what he did with the 80-10-10 diet is an amazing piece of work. I think the whole fact that he figured all that stuff out, that everyone now just goes, oh yeah, raw vegan diet, it's based on fruit and low fat and all that. And that's not what anyone thought about the raw food diet prior to 80-10-10. So all these people should be giving Doug some but that's the thing. Most of these people they're only able to do raw vegan diet because of Doug Graham. Because he's introduced the concept of eating fruit as a meal. And yeah, that was kind of around before then, but not it wasn't put out there that much. It wasn't really a very strong idea. And yet people still don't want to accept it, and they want to, I'm increasing my protein, I'm increasing my fat. I don't quite agree with that 80-10. You don't even understand the 80-10-10 concept yet. Don't even pretend like you know that if you'll do better if you increase protein and all this nonsense. So I appreciate Doug. I follow his diet pretty much, and have done like the last 10 years basically. And I support his diet and ideas. And what I certainly support is if there's a group called 80-10-10 Raw Vegans, then it should remain 80-10-10 Raw Vegans. But no, this person took it over and decided to change it because they thought, no, I think we're going to take the group in another direction. Now, had they polled the group, had they asked the group's permission, had they spoke to the other people that had been running the group? No, they just decided, well, I'm running the group now, so I can do what I like. Well, I don't know. I don't think that's great. I don't think that's the actions of. I don't think that's a good action to take. Um, Generally, you're running a group on or organization or anything on behalf of the stakeholders, which is the group members, and you know, well, in terms of a forum, the members of the forum, and so it depends on what they like or what they wanted. If there was a good reason to change, like what was happening is she was making rules and decisions that were not really related to the 80-10-10 diet. So if you then said, well, actually Doug Graham isn't against dehydration or isn't against the use of herbs and spices. He just points out that's not the best. That's not part of the healthiest diet. But Doug himself will dehydrate things at times, use herbs and spices at times. But that person decided, no, we don't want that in this group. So they decided to change rules. And I was putting posts in and they started to block posts, take my posts down randomly, just finding reasons to take my posts down. And then I disagreed with someone who said there's no fruit in the UK, and I said there is fruit in the UK, and they blocked me from the group because I was disagreeing with someone. Like, as a forum, you're meant to have discussion, and I was just like a more experienced person doing a raw food diet in the UK. So when I say yes, there is fruit in the UK, and someone else says there's no fruit in the UK, I think I'm the person that knows what's happening, but apparently not. So I was thrown out of that group. I asked them recently, because it's someone I know. I asked them recently, "Am I still not in that group?" Oh, yeah, you cause problems, you blah, or whatever it was. It's I don't have a lot of time to run this group, and I don't have the time to deal with dramas and well, I don't know. But the idea that there's a group called 80-10-10 Raw Vegans and I'm an enemy of this group, I'm someone that needs to be thrown out of it, is fascinating to me, right? Uh, anyway, there's another group, once again, I believe, was taken over by someone else. I think it was once called the Ultimate Raw Vegan Healing Group. I've been thrown out of that group. It was taken over once again by someone else, and I think the name's been changed once again. Isn't it great when someone else builds something, you just come over and take it over for your own purposes? Anyway, I just disagreed with some of the things the person said. This person presents themselves as, I'm the one person in the raw vegan world that you can trust because I always follow the science. I follow the science. I don't care about my opinion. Don't care about my opinion. Research what I'm saying. Follow the science. And so when I went to research what he was saying, I couldn't find the evidence for it. And then when I asked him about that, he has never provided the evidence. And I figured out he doesn't have evidence for some of the things he's saying. And some of those things were critical aspects of what his coaching and consultation business were based around. And he didn't have evidence. He didn't have a scrap of evidence. It was like, well, at least, wait, you don't even, like, at least I know the evidence you might be pointing towards, but you don't even seem to know that. So when I question them, I realize, oh, they don't even realize this isn't real. What they'd done was confused marketing information, which they had assumed was standard science consensus stuff. Like, just that's stuff everyone knows. That's obviously right. Like whatever gravity or we don't even need to research that because we know it's real, or whatever. Um, but the stuff that he was saying wasn't real, isn't real. It's marketing information from the supplement industry, and he doesn't seem to realize that that's what it is. Still, he doesn't. He seems to not accept that that's what it is. I figured out that's what it is because I did the research and I went, oh, that's where that comes from. That's not a real thing. When I presented that to him and have a number of times, he kind of dismisses it and then says, you just say that because you follow Dr. Doug Graham. And then he'll say, we don't have studies about the raw vegan diet, and therefore we have to do this and this and this and this and this. And he kind of goes on this big rant about we don't have science, so we have to use the little evidence we've got. But he didn't have any evidence. It was like I was still trying to figure out, well, what is your evidence? As far as I could see, his evidence was his opinion of testimonials from a particular select group of clients. So a very low level of evidence, which we can't really take as being evidence. So I suggested, I think what you should do is say, here's some ideas I've got. I don't have evidence for it, but here's some ideas. Here's my evidence stuff based on evidence. Here's my ideas. And that would be fine. But instead, he continues to say that this is the science. It's a lie. So he doesn't want me in his group because that distorts his own reality of realizing that he's been putting out this information when he hasn't even done, like, as far as I can see, the basic research on it. So now, sometimes when I question these things and people will say, Ronnie, you're arrogant. And I probably do come across as arrogant in a lot of these things. This is me acting as, this is me having a chat with you. This isn't really probably right for like a public figure or something. I get that. I'm not really a major public figure or anything. Um, and I suppose if I was on stage at my festival, I don't know. And in the festival, maybe I'd act a bit differently. If I was at an event and someone was putting that information across, I'm not going to jump up and start shouting them down, or anything like that. But uh, yeah, I don't know. I mean, I'm just really expressing myself on this channel. It's not. This isn't the greatest. My greatest effort here, I suppose. It's just an expression, place for expression, and if you get something from it, then that's good. Um, but where does the arrogance come from? Or if it is arrogance? Well, I see this as being quite serious. I do see it as being quite serious. I see health issues as being really serious. And I see everyone out there is looking for a reason to not be a raw vegan and not be a vegan and not be healthy and not even try at all in their life. And they're walking down a road towards like total misery and self personal destruction, right? um, and there's a part of me that is annoyed when people pop up in the raw vegan movement and go, this raw vegan diet is really even more difficult than you thought, and it's dangerous, and you need to take supplements, and you might die from it. That just annoys me when I hear that. And I feel like I see that again and again. If you're like, oh, you need to be careful if you're going raw vegan. No, you don't. You need to be careful if you're doing everything else. So it bothers me. It really just bothers me. And unfortunately, that information bleeds out there. People believe it, and then this movement doesn't go anywhere. Someone's coaching business goes somewhere, the movement goes nowhere. And I want the movement to go somewhere. I want people to realize, be confident about this, not be like, oh, I'll do that for 30 days and then go right back to destroying myself. And you might go, Ronnie, that's really melodramatic. Words like destroy yourself. What are you talking about? My cooked food's healthy for me. I eat healthy cooked foods. Well, I mean, my experience with cooked foods and all these things, it's extremely different to eating a raw vegan diet. Well, whatever that means. To me, there's a big difference. And you're only eating cooked food because you're addicted to it. It's the only reason you consume cooked food. Let me say that. The only reason you consume cooked food is because you are addicted to it. No other reason. Maybe that's extreme. Maybe because other people are doing it too. But I want you to imagine something like, have you ever had, let me see, have you ever eaten squash? Raw squash? Well, cauliflower rice, raw cauliflower rice, compared to rice. And people go, oh, rice is great, and cauliflower rice is rubbish, or whatever. Um, but the only reason that you say rice is better is because you're addicted to it. That's the only reason you see it as being better than some form of cauliflower rice or something else. Neither of them are good, but one is addictive. And that's the only reason that you consume it more than the other one. Um, so I don't know, what am I going to do with you all? What am I going to do with you all? I've been thrown out of forums. I try and do a good job putting out good information, and even yet I get thrown out of things, and I feel like I've been putting out what I as close to the truth, you know, as close to the truth as I can get. I think, and I think I'm still interested in that, so I'll still continue to do that. Anyway, thank you for watching. Feel free to message me or put a message below. Um, I'm probably going to start promoting more things on this channel and get a bit more promotional and do some more coaching and stuff. I've never really done a lot of that in the past. I've done quite a lot of coaching in the past, but I've not focused on it as much as I could have, and maybe I should do that more. And I want to do more things in Glasgow. If you're in Glasgow, definitely get in touch. So anyway, thank you very much for watching.